India is one of the brightest spot in the 21st century. Not only just for inclusivity, but India is also known for its one of the largest market as well as its growth and development. But how come a developing country like India has rose to such an extent that even Western countries are jealous about it? The main backbone of India's development today, you may call it maybe service sector or maybe manufacturing sector, but in actually the Indian growth and development is backed up by the rural development as well as agriculture. Yes, you won't believe it, but the agriculture and rural development has been transformed in the country in such a way that today it is paving way for India not only in its personal growth but also its recognition at an world stage. But how come this agriculture as well as rural development, which had different problems and huge challenges, has been transformed at such an extent? The answer is Nabard. So that's where our topic today begins, and our topic is all about Nabard and how this organization transformed Indian agriculture as well as rural development. Before starting the video, just bringing you to our app as well as our YouTube channel. And now let us start that what and how did Nabard transformed the Indian agricultural systems as well as the rural development. The story of Nabard, if we try to see, we can paint the Indian agricultural canvas with the Nabard's milestone. The story of Nabard starts with its conception and its establishment on 12th July 1982. Nabard, everybody calls Nabard just as a bank, but I think they should again think about it. Nabard is not just bank. It is a developmental and financial institution. No wonder it is an apex developmental bank of the country, but it not only caters to agriculture, it also caters rural development and also the other activities and occupations which are associated in the rural development. Apart from that, if you see overall agricultural development, the story starts with Green Revolution, transforming agriculture, transforming all the occupation and employment in rural development. The Nabard's contribution was in Green Revolution, was in Milk Revolution, was also in instilling technology in the agriculture as well as making India a food surplus country as well as one of the biggest exporter of the food grains. Nabard didn't stop there. When we talk about the functions of Nabard, we have to brief them into different categories. The first important function of Nabard is all about credit functions of Nabard. If I talk about the credit functions, this is nothing but giving formal finances to all the communities in rural areas. It may be an agricultural farmer, it may be a handicraft artist, everyone who are part of rural India. So the credit functions, there are two main functions under the credit function. First is direct financing and second is refinancing. Direct financing, as we all know, लोन तो हम सब लोग लेने जाते हैं. आप शायद हाउस लोन लेते हो, घर का लोन लेते हो, आप शायद एजुकेशन लोन लेते हो. Similarly, farmers also take loans for their agricultural activity. Maybe other rural employment generators who are there, they also take small loans for their businesses. Nabard provides refinance as well as finance for all such people who are in dire need of capital. Financing is nothing but directly financing where people directly take loan from the bank. Nabard's second function, refinancing, is something different. What is refinancing? Simple. If a person is taking loan from normal banks like maybe SBI and other private banks, then such agricultural farmer or maybe a person who is doing handicrafts or maybe a person who is doing any rural job, such person can take loan from such private banks and small rural banks, and Nabard can again give loans to these banks. So this is called as refinance, where banks, private banks, rural banks, state banks, these are financing rural population, and Nabard is financing these rural banks and these private banks such that the money flow does not stop in the rural areas. This was about the credit functions of Nabard, which is financing and refinancing. Apart from that, Nabard also finances for the infrastructural projects, irrigation projects, other infrastructure which is very essential for agricultural activities. Not only that, the second important function of Nabard when we talk about, it's all about rural infrastructure in Nabard. As we all know, rural areas are those areas which are very far away as well as which needs last mile connectivity. So they are so far-fetched that infrastructure is not developed that well. इतना अच्छा infrastructure कभी भी develop नहीं होता है rural area में. That is why the functions of NABARD, if you see, you will get to know maybe irrigation infrastructure, rural roads, bridge, warehousing, canals, agri infrastructure. All such infrastructures are constructed by NABARD as well as financed even by NABARD. Not only that, development of rural infrastructure, even different funds such as RIDF, Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, Long-Term Irrigation Fund. Both of these funds, Rural Infrastructure Fund is used for all the rural infrastructure construction. Irrigation Fund is used for different irrigational projects as well as such that irrigational programs are provided to the each farmer. This is all about the rural infrastructure of NABARD. Next, we talk about one of the most important function of NABARD, and that is developmental function. What do I mean by developmental function? NABARD at any point in agricultural development as well as rural development always gives a hand support and hand holds all these stakeholders who are there in agriculture. It may be an SHG, it may be an NGO, it may be even farmers, it may be FPO, it may be any other private industries as well as government, state governments or central government. NABARD is pivotal organization which helps all the stakeholders for the agriculture and rural development. From Far Sector Promotion Fund, Watershed Development Fund and Tribal Development Fund, NABARD always keeps finances allocated for the developmental activities. If you see today, 1800 projects are there in the country which covers 1.9 million hectares and in 22 states. Developmental projects as well as tribal projects, 600 tribal projects in 22 states which covers almost 5 lakh tribal families. This shows you how NABARD is judicially using their capital as well as resources and making the rural community more inclusive. Apart from that, if you see, NABARD also looks to make collectives of farmers as well as rural people. So from harnessing power of collective, 15,000 farmer clubs or maybe farmer unions or organizations have been created up till now. Farmer producers organization, that is FPOs, the range of FPOs also is increasing. If you see today, all the farmers NABARD has united in this country. Apart from that, if you see, as climate change is one of the biggest problem for the whole agricultural systems in the world, NABARD knows this, and therefore NABARD is the apex national implementing agency for the sustainable agriculture and to fight against the climate change and even making agriculture which will even survive as well as which can even sustain in the climate changed weathers. Okay. Apart from that, if you see, NABARD's role also is important for inclusivity and growth. NABARD is not just catering for a particular organizations or maybe particular community like farmers or maybe people who are doing handicrafts or maybe even rural population. NABARD also tries to segregate these segments. So therefore, women empowerment, financial inclusivity, even digitalization. So for example, financial inclusion through Financial Inclusion Fund. Apart from that, 95 million rural households have been given financial accounts and digitalized accounts. Apart from that, digital future for all the SHGs and making them digital through eShakti portal. Apart from that, largest microfinance program in the world has been also given by NABARD. NABARD SHG bank linkage program is one of the flagship schemes where various women are provided financial support and independence. This is how NABARD is making not only a particular community or activity developing or maybe inclusive, it is also bringing all the community and making it independent and more importantly empowering the rural population. Then when you talk about further functions of NABARD, it also reduces risk. Agriculture is such activity, it is prone to risks. It reduces the risk by improving the marketing opportunities. It has also formed different joint liability groups such that farmers and other rural people may come together and there should be a power of unity. 2 million plus joint liability groups have been started. Okay, this is boosting off-farm activity as well as farm activity. So NABARD is not just restricted toward agriculture activity but also towards all the rural activities associated with agriculture. Skill development and entrepreneur culture has been also started by NABARD. Apart from that, supervision and institutional developmental functions also are important or maybe veins of Nabard. So Nabard does supervision as well as regulation. In what context? Nearly 300 inspections are done by Nabard of different rural banks as well as other cooperative banks to make it sure that financial flow is there towards the rural people. Not only that, over 200 rural cooperative banks have been brought on the central online platform for their supervision as well as their regulation. Apart from that, Nabard is trying to build a healthy rural financial institution such that farmers would not go to the informal lendings of finances. Apart from that, if you see, the other function is working at the grassroots. So if you clear Nabard Grade A exam, you will join as an assistant manager. Initial days of yours, of course, has field work. That means what? Execution. And when you get promoted after maybe C or D post, you will get the function of policy making. So Nabard officers, when they join Nabard, they have two functions. One is execution and second is policy framework. Both of these functions are directed towards, first, of course, giving a credit plan to the district, state or particular area, and second is executing these credit plans. Other than that, developmental programs, making new schemes, these are also certain functions of all the officers. More importantly, the first role which you are going to play in your life if you join Nabard Grade B as an assistant manager, you will be one of the most pivotal persons as you will be working on the fields. You will connect the central government, state government, research organization by being in Nabard with the farmers. So you will be the linkage to connect farmer and the other organizations which will try to develop the agricultural sector. Apart from that, if you see internal organizations also, if you see Nabard, the headquarter is at Mumbai and other regional branches are in different states. Nabard has been well organized in such a way that proper whatever programs, schemes as well as directives are passed on from the headquarter to every corners of the country, and this makes Nabard one of the most impactful rural organizations. To sum up, if you see functions of Nabard, if we see providing refinance support, that is giving banks the loan. Direct finance is nothing but bank are giving loan to the farmers, giving loans to the bank, that is refinancing. Building rural infrastructure, preparing district and credit plans, okay. Apart from that, supervising cooperative banks and regional rural banks, designing new developmental schemes for the development of different agriculture activities as well as rural development, and training the handicraft artists as well as the people who are in textile business. This brings us towards Nabard and how Nabard is connected to its different stakeholders. These are all the stakeholders of Nabard, from state government to cooperative banks to rural banks, multilateral and bilateral organizations, NBFCs, 400 civil society organizations or NGO, you may even call them all the organizations which are associated with agriculture and rural development, 15,000 farmer groupings, million of rural Indians, and university and corporates. So Nabard is one of the pivotal as well as apex organization which is connecting all these people and all these organizations which are important for the development of agriculture as well as rural development. The future lies with a bright spot where India is one of the developing and walking towards to be a developed country in a situation where climate change, increase in population, here agriculture will play a very important role. As well as Gandhiji one time had said that the real development of the nation always is in the rural areas, and I think Nabard is successfully walking towards it. Thank you.